This is Alex, and you're watching the Raging Ronin Review, Transformers 3 Edition. A lot of people have been asking me, is this the last trailer? When is the next trailer coming out? This is actually the last 2D trailer, but when you watch Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, we're gonna get a 3D version of the trailer in theaters. Now, how's it going to be different? Well, it's going to be the same, but Michael Bay stated that he's going to add a couple of scenes that's going to accentuate the 3D. Accentuate. I don't think I've ever used that word ever in my life in a sentence. I'm feeling pretty intelligent right now. Let me cherish this moment for a bit. Okay, anyways, so what else is new? If you go into the official Hasbro Transformers Dark of the Moon website, they reveal what the wreckers look like. We already know what the wreckers look like in vehicle mode, but now you get to see what their heads look like. So we got Topspin, we got Roadbuster, and now we even have Leadfoot. I actually like the way the head looks for Leadfoot. He's actually my favorite looking one. And we also get Laserbeak, and it says that Laserbeak doesn't actually have an alt mode, which basically means the exact same thing as Ravage, because Ravage didn't have an alt mode. He was just a Panther, so I don't think Laserbeak is going to transform into anything. He's just going to deploy himself from Soundwave. They also revealed 3 different dreads. Now, in the production of Transformers Dark of the Moon, we saw that there are 3 SUVs, which means that there are 3 dreads. One of them is actually named Crankcase, but the Hasbro site reveals that there's 2 other ones. One of them's Hatchet, which is supposed to have an alt mode of a jet, and the other one is Crowbar, which is supposed to be a police car. I don't think that the jet and the police car are actually going to make its way to the movie, but that doesn't mean that all 3 of the SUVs are going to be called Crankcase. I think all 3 of the SUVs will actually have 3 different names: Crankcase, Crowbar, and Hatchet. The biggest news is that Soundwave's alternate mode has been revealed. What might that be? Well, we already know what it is. It's just that Michael Bay's been messing with us, or he had a change of heart, or Mercedes-Benz had a change of heart, or we're back to square one, and that is Michael Bay's messing with us again. Well, the Hasbro site reveals that the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG is in fact Soundwave's alt mode, just as the video game suggests. It's right there on the Hasbro site, so I don't know what there is to argue about. But are we really going to see Soundwave transform into a Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG in the movie? You know, it's highly possible that Soundwave might not have an Earth alt mode at all. He's just going to be a robot for whenever we see him on screen, and he's going to be a satellite in space whenever he's not on Earth. So, do you know what that really means? That means Soundwave is actually only going to be in the 3rd and final act of the film. Because if he was in the 1st and 2nd act of the film, how is he going to hide? He's going to be a satellite. Well, where do you hide a freaking huge-ass satellite? And he can't be walking around like a robot on Earth without being noticed. So that just means he's going to be in the final battle, and only in the final battle. Highly possible. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is I want to give you a more in-depth breakdown of the trailer, because I watched the trailer a little bit more, and now I want to talk about it a little bit more. Here we go. At 46 seconds, I was reading on TFW2005.com that someone suggested that Wheeljack is a samurai. I think that is the coolest thing ever in the history of the Transformers trilogy, and that is to have an Autobot be a samurai. You see like a staff coming out of his back? That could very well be like a freaking like javelin staff or something. Imagine that. Wheeljack just cutting Decepticons to bits just by like going like freaking ninja assassin style. At 52 seconds, the city shoots a beam of light into the sky while the city is already ravaged. This means one of 2 things. A, Autobots could be calling for reinforcements, or B, Decepticons could be calling for reinforcements. Most likely B, because Autobots don't have nobody to call on. Michael Bay already told us this in the interviews. All they have is the Autobots and the humans. At 58 seconds, those are drones and dreads coming out of the surface of the moon. At 107, the electric lines that we see is actually the space bridge. At 131, that is Shockwave stepping over the dead body of the Dweller. The Dweller, if you don't know, is a half-organic, half-machine abomination created by the Quintessons. At 139, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner, you actually see Sideswipe in that scene. Also at 139, we see a lot of Decepticon drones. At 148, we see Starscream exploding. At 150, we see Bumblebee catching Captain Lennox and Sam, with Sam holding a power glove. And that is probably the thing that killed Starscream. At 159, you see some aerial drones being destroyed by missiles. But who fired the missiles? Where did those missiles come from? Apparently they came from the building trolling from the far background. But who fired them? At 2:05, you see Optimus Prime suggesting that the Autobots are leaving, then that the humans are gonna have to deal with the Decepticons themselves. It is their own fight. I mentioned in the last video that this is the end of the movie. The more I read the comments, this could be at the very middle of the movie. Makes sense. So now that I've mentioned all these little things about the trailer, the one thing that still gets to me is the fact that they're still using Decepticon drones just like they did in Revenge of the Fallen. Why do they keep on doing that? Why can't we just have regular Decepticons that we know and recognize? I thought about that and came up with the conclusion. Decepticons need cannon fodder. Michael Bay needs Decepticon cannon fodder so that the Autobots can tear them apart. And I think they really thought about this a lot, and this decision really came from the fan reaction and feedback suggested that they weren't happy with the Decepticons not being able to stand a chance against the Autobots in the final battle in downtown. Basically, the audience wants two things. They want to see recognizable Decepticon characters, but they don't want to see them die so easily. Because these are characters that we're so close to and we come to grow to know. Does that even compute? Grow to know. What the hell? That sounds like Pinocchio growing a nose. We grew close with them, you know? So the best thing to do is create evil minions that nobody cares about. Like, imagine if they have a version of Transformers where they don't give it a name, and imagine that same scene where instead of not giving it a name, it's actually Skywarp and then he gets killed. Imagine how disappointed you'd be. So because of that, they only put a small handful of recognizable Decepticon characters. Megatron, Soundwave, Shockwave, Starscream, and the rest is just cannon fodder. That would make for less disappointment and more Decepticon deaths, which would lead up to more meaningful Decepticon deaths. Get it? Agree or disagree? Leave your comments in the comment section below and let me know what you think about clones. I understand why they used them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I like the idea of it. In my opinion, less is more. But that doesn't mean I don't think it'll look cool as hell. This is Alex Yu and you're watching the Raging Rona Review. Peace. Most of us go, okay, I'm glad they didn't reveal a whole lot of it, right? And once again, like I said in the previous video, the music is just so hard and edgy. Excuse me.